Today, even the technologists themselves are afraid of what they're creating. And here to talk about this giant conundrum, about high tech and what the Bible says about it in the latter days, is Pastor Billy Crone. Billy, it's good to have you back.
Thank you, Gary. It's always great to be on.
Right in front of me, I have a book with a funny-looking robotic creature on the cover, Drones, Artificial Intelligence, and the Coming Human Annihilation. Wow. Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Now, where should we begin on this? Because I think there's a general consciousness today. People are vaguely afraid of what they see happening. Where in the world is this all going?
Yeah, well, if you stick to the Bible, you'll find out where it's going. And frankly, it's going to get way worse before it ever gets better, before Jesus comes back at the end of the 7-year tribulation. And of course, Jesus himself said of the 7-year tribulation, it's going to be the worst time in the history of mankind, so horrible that unless God kept it to that time frame, basically the entire human race would be destroyed. And when we began to go down this route, taking a look at the technology that's being developed on a global basis, combined with an artificial intelligence that can control it all, it makes you wonder if that's, in fact, if you will, a loaded statement from Jesus. What is really coming to this planet? If God didn't keep it to the 7 years, then you look at the technology that's being developed, hey, you could see how literally the entire human race could be destroyed. This is not something that's coming. It's technology that's already here, and most people have no clue about it, nor do they understand the biblical ramifications.
Now, Billy has produced a set of DVDs called Attack of the Drones with an artificially intelligent robot on the cover here. 14 studies, 7 DVDs, extensively probing the details of these horrors that are on the horizon. And by the way, I've watched much of this DVD set just to prepare for this conversation we'd be having, and a lot of it was very scary, I got to admit. If I did not have faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, I'd be pretty scared right now.
Yeah, well, and that's the premise that we try to remind people throughout the documentary is if you're not saved and you're watching this, you better get saved, because this is not make-believe, it's really coming. Yeah. Most people don't realize that basically, in a nutshell, to give people a visual that maybe they're familiar with, take all your Terminator movies, when you have everything gone robotic, all types of military vehicles, weaponry, it's all unmanned, it's all automated, even Terminator robots, all that being controlled with brain chips and all that stuff, and it's being controlled on a global basis, and it has the potential to hunt mankind down. All that Terminator movie is becoming our reality. And it's not just the United States, it's the militaries around the world. And it's all happening. In fact, their verbiage is saying that every country within a matter of just a few years are going to have not just drones, but armed drones. And we're talking about not just the classic ones, the Predator drones, we see of all that stuff. We're talking about drones that are in the air, drones on the ocean, drones even under the ocean, on the land. They're even creating drones that you won't even recognize that they're a drone. They're making them look like, pick any animal in nature, whether it be a cheetah, whether it be a bird, whether it be insects like beetles and dragonflies and even flies. We even share actual video clips from the military themselves showing a lot of these unmanned aerial vehicles. The smaller ones, they're called micro aerial vehicles, but they're all being controlled, and they even communicate with each other so they can literally swarm their prey. In fact, that's their terminology, that this is swarm technology, and that these things are armed and they can come and take you out. We share one clip where an MAV looking like a fly actually goes into this area. The guy didn't even see it coming in, and it literally shoots the guy in the back of the head, actually takes him out. This is the military's demonstration that we show. This is all happening, and they're developing at the same time all of this stuff, a Skynet scenario, an artificial intelligence that literally can control it all. And if you look at the headlines, even recently in the last few months, Putin has made the statement that whoever controls and develops AI first, controls the world. So it's not just United, it's all these governments, and everybody, the whole new way of warfare is not just coming, it's already started on the planet.
Let's stop for a minute, actually 2 minutes here, and take a look to get a little preview of what Billy has done, just to give you an idea of the scope of the DVDs he's produced.
We're learning more this morning about a near collision between a 50-seat passenger plane and a drone.
You see, outside the military invasion of drones, the other area that most people are familiar with drone technology is actually in the private sector.
Well, when many of us think of drones, this is what comes to mind. High-tech machines used by the military in the war on terror. But what many don't realize, the same technology giving rise to military drones is being miniaturized.
Having said all that, there is a real fundamental value issue here. Do we want drones all over the place? Because some of them are going to be the size of mosquitoes.
And that's the problem. Maybe you shouldn't go this route. Maybe you're opening Pandora's box, or as the movies call it, Skynet. If we see anything in the media that they admit they're doing, like this robot shark, my general rule of thumb is this: we're actually 20 years behind the technology.
It was such a close call that federal officials say that the pilot actually believed that the plane had been hit.
Wow. Does that convince you of anything? I mean, if you're not just shaking in your boots a little bit right now, you should be.
Yeah.
The people, Billy, I've heard this, read it many places, the people who are actually developing artificial intelligence right now are afraid of it.
Yeah.
They're afraid of their own invention. Now, this is amazing. This may be a first in the history of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to me, is if that's not a big enough wake-up call for you, I don't know what it's going to take. But when you have, as far as I understand, non-Christian secularists, you got computer moguls, computer geniuses, technology geniuses, people like Elon Musk, who many people say he's like a Tony Stark of today's technology and things of that nature. But when he, and we share the video clip, the interview, when he uses a term like this, when he says in regards to this technology and development of artificial intelligence, when he says that we are, by doing this, summoning up a demon, you might want to take notice.
Yes, you might.
It's really going on. And by the way, one of the neat things about the documentary is we have almost 180 video clips. It's 14 hours documentary, shot in true documentary style. We interview military analysts and things of that nature, but almost 180 video clips of evidence. We're not just saying, here's the types of drones that they're developing. Here's the Terminator robots that they're developing, not coming, they're already being developed around the world. Here's what the UN's saying about this. Here's what Russia's doing. Here's what China is building. We share with you the actual video clips over and over again because it's such a topic. People are going like, okay, now you've gone off the deep end. Right? Because this is like, are you serious? The Terminator reality is really becoming our reality? Yes. Here's the video evidence. It's jaw-dropping evidence. And believe it or not, I think the Bible warns about that. I think all this is going to come into play. That is the reason why the 7-year tribulation, amongst other reasons, is so horrible, and why the scripture says you better get saved, and you better get saved now, because you don't even want to be there yourself, let alone your worst enemy.
You know, I've thought about the unveiling of the Antichrist many, many times over the last few years. I've studied the Bible, and there so much has been written about the Antichrist. But in Daniel, he is said to worship a God whom his fathers knew not. And this is a very powerful, strong God. And you go to Revelation and read about what he's able to do, call down fire from heaven and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And it all sounds like high technology controlled by the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And this God whom his fathers knew not, could that God be the God of artificial intelligence? Maybe a computer God that comes into its own and appears to have its own life.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting, you look at the development with artificial intelligence, and people need to realize this, Gary. Artificial intelligence is not coming. Artificial intelligence is already here. And it's here in many different facets and forms. There's a race to see who can get to the top, like Russia's leader has forewarned. But you look at that and you go back to the Antichrist. You also go to Revelation 13 with the Antichrist and the image. What is this image that people will worship? And some are starting to wonder when you begin to realize behind this technology, could this be some sort of artificial intelligence image and what have you? And you're thinking, well, people, would they really worship an image? Well, yeah.
It's what's called the image of the beast.
Right, exactly. But you look at also not just the development of artificial intelligence for the military, but just in general, we have people right now, you see their hearts wanting an Antichrist worship scenario. They don't want there to be the Christian God, but they do want to worship something. Right now, I think the guy's Anthony Lewandowski, he has created, and this is in the headlines right now, he has created the way of the future. He is basically, it's an AI church. It's already registered. You can check it out with the IRS. And basically, he's creating the ability for this new God. And he says, well, if something, artificial intelligence, is billions of times more intelligent than current humans, what else are you going to call it? And then he even says stuff like this. He says, at least with their God, artificial intelligence, that they want to worship, they said that you'll have the benefit of speaking to this God and knowing that they're listening. I mean, this is going on right now. So you not only see the development of this technology, the development of artificial intelligence, you see the heart of the secular society that is anti-God, anti-Christianity, wanting a replacement. And this technology gives them that, and people are already jumping on that bandwagon.
And jumping on it very quickly at the rate that things are being developed.
Yeah.
DARPA, a government association that brings together technologies of all sorts to produce military weaponry.
Yeah.
It has been hot on the heels of artificial intelligence for years now.
Yeah.
And we all read about it around the edges, and occasionally we see movies, and you'll see it in Billy's DVD productions. You're going to see like robotics you can't even believe. Scary robotics, right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned DARPA, the section there, because we deal with the history of drone technology, and then we deal with the history of artificial intelligence.
And I watched it, by the way. It was very, very interesting. We all think about those drones up there being used in time of war, but hey, it's way more than you think it is.
Yeah, well, and it's way more advanced. In fact, you can go, it's current headlines right now as we speak. A lot of people, they're more concerned about the economy or who's going to win this game or that game than what is being developed right now on our planet. And right now, the UN and the entities, they are saying we need to stop. This is their verbiage, not mine. We need to stop these killer robots. And they're not just talking about the predators. People think, that is just talking about. No, we're talking about, yes, in the sky, but every piece of military equipment you can think of is being droned out, is unmanned. And we document it in the military videos, whether it be a submarine, whether it be a Jeep, a supply vehicle, fighter jets, anything you could think of. We don't need humans anymore to fly them, man them. And they can control it via a Skynet scenario. It sounds crazy, but it's all documented with that as well.
A mastermind that's controlling all the military action.
Yeah.
But it's not a human. It's a giant computer.
Yeah.
What can we say except Skynet? I mean, which brings me to the subject of sci-fi. Science fiction, is this generation's palliative.
Yeah.
If you look at the movies that come one after another, superheroes, super inventions, we have stories about artificial human beings being created with superpowers.
Yeah.
And souls being transmuted into other bodies. And you name it, it's been in sci-fi.
Yeah.
And we now have a generation that's been absolutely spoon-fed all of this.
Yeah.
So they're ready.
Oh, yeah.
And you go into this at great length.
Yeah, in fact, we have a whole section there. How are they programming people to accept this Terminator reality, really.
Right.
With you got drones flying everywhere, and and all being controlled, unmanned, all automated and controlled by AI. And we dealt with the movies. I really think that movies are not just entertainment. That's what we've been conditioned to think.
Right.
Movies are a propaganda tool. And movies are utilized today, I believe, to prepare us for the future that is being built for us, whether we like it or not. And so, back to the Terminator thing. If anything, they did a fantastic job of predicting and showing us what's coming. And you're right. You look at every basic superhero movie scenario that's going on right now, whether it be Marvel, whether it be DC Comics and all that stuff, that's the biggest craze. What are these people? It's all about this super technology, this Skynet scenario. You could tap into this global system. You got artificial intelligence and creating the super intelligence that either becomes a threat or then some would say, no, it's going to benefit. And you have a whole generation of people thinking this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. In fact, artificial intelligence right now is being pitched as well. At the same time the militaries around the world are using it, it's being pitched as it's going to usher in the greatest era of convenience you can believe on. There's so many different AI versions and programs already out there right now. It could help you find a new job. It could help you to find a date. It could become your date, and that's a whole other crazy immoral topic.
Oh, yeah.
It could improve your life. It can control your home. It can do all this stuff. If you just accept artificial intelligence controlling everything, it's going to bring this it's going to be a global nightmare is what it is. It's the Skynet scenario. Now, you mentioned DARPA. In the section we deal with on the history of artificial intelligence, I could not believe what I came across in that discovery. Because it was a learning curve for me of, okay, where did this whole idea of artificial intelligence come from and how is it being developed? Well, when we got into the 40s and the 50s, and the 50s, of course, is where they came up with what's called the Turing test from Alan Turing, that if how do you know something's true artificial intelligence? Well, if it carries on a conversation, and you can't distinguish it between a human conversation, that's the test, et cetera, blah, blah. Well, around that time frame, you also had the development of an entity called ARPA. ARPA, is the ones who developed what was originally called the ARPANET, right? ARPANET is the precursor to what we today call the internet. ARPA then changed its name from ARPA to DARPA.
The D for defense.
Yeah, and so the same entity that's working on artificial intelligence is the same entity that was the birthplace of basically the internet. All this stuff, it's been going on for decades. And these things are now coming out in the forefront, and most people have no clue who's really behind this, let alone where it's going and the dangers that lie ahead.
And it runs deeply throughout society. The internet is much deeper than you think.
Yeah.
And things are happening on there that are not always comforting to think about.
Right.
The book by Pastor Billy Crone is called Drones, Artificial Intelligence, and the Coming Human Annihilation, which brings me to the book of Revelation.
Yeah.
Right after we begin to open seals, our Lord steps up and begins to open this sealed book. And by the time the fifth seal rolls around, you have millions of people who are killed for the witness of Jesus Christ, and they are beneath the altar of God. And they say, how long, O Lord, before you dispatch the enemy? In effect, that's what they're asking. In other words, we're headed for a time when there will be literally mega millions of people dying. And I think probably through the medium that you've described here, because these things are dispensers of death.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and Gary, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was one of my synopsis coming out of this study myself, was like, whoa, wait a second. Could this in fact be the technology that is utilized in the 7-year tribulation when you look at the judgments that are coming? And you're right. You did in the sealed judgments, it says there 1/4 of the earth is annihilated. That's nearly 2 billion people.
Yeah.
2 billion people? Well, wait a second. Let's go a little bit further. You could also, I would say, confidently presuppose that people say, well, that's going to be nuclear warfare. Well, maybe, but if you're going to drop nuclear warfare that's going to annihilate 2 billion people, you're talking about nukes on a scale that's going to create a nuclear winter, and basically you got a shutdown, right? Scenario.
Sure.
Planet Earth, we're done. But that's not what you see in the 7-year tribulation. You see that the Antichrist continues to go forward. In the midway point, he declares himself God. The rebuilt Jewish temple continues in the second half. and the mark of the beast, the economy is all tied together, buying and selling. So all that's still going. So I don't see that as a nuclear winter scenario per se. So then the question is, we know it's going to happen. How? How do you annihilate nearly 2 billion people in a relatively quick amount of time without using nuclear warfare? When you understand this technology, one guy literally could put his finger on the button. It's all tied together like a Skynet scenario. These things will hunt people down and annihilate them because they're not just watching, they're armed and they're equipped to take people out.
And some of them, as you mentioned earlier, look like insects that can crawl, and insects can sting you with poison. Little dragonflies humming around by the thousands.
Yeah.
And those things could be carrying poison.
Yeah.
But they also carry microphones. So if they fly up close to a group of people, they can hear what the people are saying.
Yeah.
It's amazing what's going on.
Well, and two, one of the, we deal with the invasion of drones in the first part, and part of it is people are just getting used to having drones everywhere, whether it be in the private sector, the commercial sector. Amazon's a big one proponent of that, delivering what we buy and sell and things of that nature. Transportation sector, the media. It's just drones are the panacea for basically the infrastructure.
Well, every television station now has to have a drone cam
or
more, so that when you go to the scene of a news event, you launch a drone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up there filming.
Right, but there's something else that's going on with that same technology. That technology is, especially for like the sports enthusiasts, and we document this, if you wear like a tracking device on your wrist, okay, then these drones will follow you. They'll follow that signal. And they will, of course, for the sports enthusiasts, it's to, you know, that cool shot as you're doing kayaking or you're skiing or riding your mountain bike in the mountain. It will literally follow you, right? And so I'm going...
A drone selfie.
Exactly what it is. That's really what it is, Gary. But it's video, right? It's not just a, you know. So,
right.
And you know, who has time when you're riding down a mountain on a bike to take a selfie? It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So this technology is wired to follow a signal, to follow a person. So I'm sitting there going like, whoa, wait a second. The Bible tells us in the 7-year tribulation, what are people going to get? They're going to get some sort of a marking device in their right hand or in their forehead, right? Now, there's a lot of speculation. Bingo, you know where I'm going. So I'm going like, so you not only get this device that apparently, the mark of the beast, okay, that these people accept, but if you use a technology that also has the ability not only to make financial transactions, but also is used as a tracking device, then imagine somebody gives an order. Imagine somebody finds out that you're not doing what they're saying, which is what Revelation 13 says. The Antichrist and false prophet will make, force, order, cause people to obey. And if you don't, they're going to kill you. It says it right there. Well, how's he going to know where people are on the whole planet? Because that's a global context. Well, with this kind of technology and then this monitoring militarized technology everywhere on the planet, just like the drones today, they will know the GPS location of every single person anywhere on the planet. Right? And technically, even today, without having a mark of the beast type scenario implanted to track a person's every move, as well as make financial transactions, you don't even need that, because guess what everybody carries with them today? A cell phone.
Cell phone.
Cell phone is the biggest tracking device that we've accepted on the planet, and everybody's got to have a cell phone. I mean, everybody, right?
From the age of 7.
Right. Exactly, and so that's an identifier. So even that actual technology, if they wanted to take somebody out, they can find you. And we already have people being warmed up to not just have these drones everywhere and these drones equipped, but drones following you. All that is not coming. It's already in play, and most people have no clue. Now, one interesting thing, you talk about that technology, real quick, it's not just the militaries around the world that are developing this artificial intelligence. Major corporations are doing the same thing. One of those corporations, real quick, is IBM. IBM has not just developed artificial intelligence, they've developed it for many years. In fact, they've named their artificial intelligence. It's called Watson. Look at the TV right now. Commercials right now, IBM is promoting Watson as the panacea. He'll do your taxes for you. He'll run your business for you, do all kinds of stuff. Watson, even back as far as 2011, would already beat the 2 best human champions on Jeopardy. Okay, so it's been in play for a long time. Now, it just so happens that IBM is also the same technology mogul that has developed another technology called RFID, radio frequency identification, which is a tiny microchip that can be affixed to any product anywhere around the world. And they've been promoting this for many years, that they want to literally track every product on the planet. And we even demonstrate their own commercials proving this is what they want to do. Then we fast forward, it's like, well, wait a second, IBM, what do you want to do? Microchip people next? Yes. And we actually share commercials where it shows people from IBM where they're going into a grocery store and the guy's loading up his jacket with all kinds of stuff. And of course, the conception you get is like, hey, this guy's a thief. He's stealing stuff. He goes through this checkout line, he scans, and here comes the security guy, and you think, he's going to get him now. And the security guy takes the receipt and says, you forgot your receipt. And then it says checkout lines. Who needs them, right?
Yeah.
And that's IBM. So the same entity that's developing this tracking technology, RFID, that can track every product, apparently they're going to have plans to do it in people too, for buying and selling. And then you're saying, well, why are they developing Watson, artificial intelligence? Well, put yourself in that Revelation 13 scenario. How is one guy going to control and monitor all the transactions, all the people, all the planet? That's superhuman technology. If you're going to pull that off, what do you need? Superhuman intelligence.
Absolutely.
So the same entity is developing all the technology right now.
And, we think of a human being with maybe a 165 IQ as being pretty smart.
Yeah.
But these machines, machine intelligence, that would be a low IQ. We're talking about an IQ of 1,000 or 1,500.
Yeah.
And that thing would address you as if you were a garden worm.
Yeah.
And it would be almost a god to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Well, and again, you're seeing society accept that. There's another artificial intelligence out there that's already in play, given, if you will, skin, Sophia. Sophia, Sophos, Greek for wisdom, right? Sophia, she's not just out there communicating. That's the danger of this technology. It's called singularity. It spirals out of control. Artificial intelligence creates another version of itself improved, and that improves on itself and on itself and then on itself, and it keeps improving exponentially. And secularists are saying that's that moment when it takes over and the human era is ended.
And there's so much more. We could go on another 2 or 3 hours. The book, Drones, Artificial Intelligence, and the Coming Human Annihilation. By the way, the DVD set, and here we have 7 DVDs, 14 messages. I've viewed these in part, haven't had time to look at the whole thing yet. You will not believe the information you're going to be getting out of this. The book is $25, free shipping, by the way, anywhere in the United States. The DVD set, $65 with free shipping. Again, 14 studies, 7 DVDs. A package including Billy Crone's presentation at our prophecy conference on artificial intelligence and the coming apocalypse. A great message, by the way. All this together, the package, $75, free shipping anywhere in the United States. That includes that bonus DVD. And you'll love the information that he packs so beautifully together, so it's easily assimilable. Billy, thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Gary. It's always great to be on.
We've got to talk again.
Yeah.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, you keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.